everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Hmm,
Today, we're going to be looking at where mental health and physical education kind of collide.
that's right.
And we've got a really interesting mix of research papers and real-world examples to unpack today.
Yeah, you've provided some really fascinating sources,
Yeah.
and some of them are even from schools around the globe.
I know, it's super interesting. So get ready to discover how PE can be way more than just gym class.
Yeah, it's really interesting to see how we've kind of siloed PE into just being about the physical body.
Right.
But these sources really illuminate the impact that it has on mental and emotional well-being too.
For sure. And we're not just talking about like that runner's high or anything, that kind of post-workout glow.
Right.
We're talking about some pretty significant and long-lasting effects on mental health.
Absolutely.
One study that we looked at, which completely blew my mind, followed 1.2 million people in the U.S. And what they found was that regular physical activity, even just like 45 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week, can significantly reduce the risk of poor mental health.
Yeah, that's a huge study.
Isn't it?
It really highlights how important it is to be physically active,
Yeah.
not just for our physical health, but for our mental well-being as well.
Right. And so it's not just about reducing the risk of depression either.
No, the benefits extend far beyond that.
So let's break that down a bit. What other mental health benefits are we talking about here?
Well, the research shows that regular physical activity can help with stress management.
Okay.
It can boost your self-esteem. It can even improve social skills like leadership and teamwork.
Okay, so that all makes sense to me.
Yeah,
When you think about it, like, being part of a team sport, you build confidence, you learn to communicate effectively.
good
It all
point.
kind of clicks together.
Absolutely. And those are skills that are not just beneficial on the playing field, but they translate into everyday life as well.
For sure. Now, one of the sources you shared dives into this concept of sense of belonging in schools,
Yeah.
which is like super crucial for student success and overall well-being. So this is where things get really interesting. A study of Australian schools found that students in metropolitan schools,
Right.
which often have dedicated PE specialists,
Right.
reported a much stronger sense of belonging compared to those in provincial or remote schools.
That's a really interesting finding.
It is.
It really suggests that the quality and the consistency of physical education programs can directly affect how connected students feel within the school community.
Yeah, totally makes sense. When you're part of a team, you're having fun. You're learning new skills together.
Right.
And it creates this like awesome supportive environment where everyone can kind of thrive and do well.
And that brings us to social emotional learning.
SEL.
SEL, yes. We've all heard of it.
Yes,
It's kind of a buzzword these days.
it is.
But what we're looking at here is how social emotional learning connects to physical education.
Okay, so for anyone who might not be totally up to speed on their educational jargon, can you remind us what SEL is all about?
Sure, SEL is all about developing these essential skills like understanding and managing your emotions,
Okay.
forming strong relationships, showing empathy, making responsible choices,
Okay.
and tackling challenges head on.
Okay, so it's a pretty big deal.
It is. And what's amazing is that physical education just naturally lends itself to social emotional learning.
Okay, I'm intrigued now. Paint me a picture here. How can PE be a tool for social emotional learning?
Well, just think about what's at the heart of team sports.
Okay.
You're collaborating.
Hmm.
You're communicating. You're learning to lead and follow. You're bouncing back from setbacks. You're respecting the rules and your opponents. All of these experiences are a breeding ground for developing those crucial social and emotional skills.
Okay, and this isn't just like a theory or anything, right?
No, not all.
The research actually backs this up.
Absolutely.
Like, studies have shown that SEL is not just some fluffy extra. It's fundamental to a child's overall development.
Yes. It impacts their social and emotional well-being, their health ethical development, their academic learning, even their motivation to succeed. It's all interconnected.
Wow, so it's really like laying the groundwork for success in so many areas of life.
Exactly.
Now, one of the sources you gave me offers this really inspiring example of a UK school
Okay.
that took a really interesting approach to weaving well-being and what they call learning values into their whole curriculum, including PE.
It's a fascinating case study.
It is. So tell us more about what they did and the kind of impact it had.
Well, this school really focused on 8 key learning values:
Okay.
creativity, energy resilience, curiosity, courage, exploration, reflection, and communication.
Okay, so a pretty comprehensive list.
It is.
And they make sure to highlight these values across every subject.
Yes, recognizing that these qualities are important for the overall growth of a student.
So it wasn't just like they tacked on a separate SEL class or anything. It was about integrating these values into everything they did.
That's right.
So did they see any results from this?
They did. They used a tool called the Boxall Profile,
Okay.
which measures student well-being across various dimensions. And they saw significant improvements across the board.
That's awesome. So it really shows how a holistic approach to education,
Yeah.
one that prioritizes social and emotional development alongside the academic stuff,
Yes.
can create real positive change.
Absolutely. It's like saying to the students, hey, you belong here. We believe in you.
I love that.
And, for you listening out there, think about those times where you felt really connected to a group or an activity.
Yeah.
It probably had a really positive impact on you beyond just the activity itself.
Oh, for sure. There's like this amazing energy that comes from being a part of something bigger than yourself, having
Yeah.
a shared purpose,
Yeah.
and being in a supportive community.
It's powerful stuff. And it sounds like PE can be a real catalyst for those kinds of experiences.
Totally. And that brings us to another key point that kept coming up in these sources, the vital role of qualified HPE teachers.
Couldn't agree more. It's not just about having PE on the timetable. It's about having teachers who are skilled in creating that supportive and inclusive environment.
Right, like it's not enough to just know the sport or the activity. You need to be able to create that space where everyone feels welcome and valued.
Exactly. And one of the sources I was reading actually quotes an ITE lecturer. That's Initial Teacher Education, for those who might not be familiar with the acronym.
Okay.
And they emphasized the need for teachers who are not only knowledgeable about PE, but also really good at fostering that sense of belonging among their students.
Yeah, that makes sense. But that's where the challenges come in, right? Not every school has access to dedicated PE specialists, especially in more rural or remote areas.
Unfortunately, that's true. And it really raises some important questions about equity and access.
Mm-hmm.
How do we make sure that all students, no matter where they live or what their background is, have the opportunity to benefit from quality physical education programs?
Right, because we're seeing how important these programs are for mental and emotional well-being. It's not just about physical fitness.
Exactly, to
Yeah.
the whole person.
So it seems like there's a real need to advocate for more resources and support for physical education,
Yeah.
especially in those areas where access is limited.
Absolutely. And
Okay.
it's not just about funding. It's also about providing teachers with the training and professional development they need to create truly effective and inclusive programs.
Okay, so we've been talking about all these concepts and research, but I'm really curious to hear what this looks like in action. What are some real-world examples from those case studies that bring these ideas to life?
Let's dive into that. One of the sources actually included some quotes from students,
Oh, perfect.
and their words really highlight the power of PE.
Okay, I'm all ears. What are these students saying?
Well, one boy talked about how much he prefers team sports because he said, if you make a mistake or something, there are people to help you out.
Oh, that's so sweet.
It really speaks to that sense of support and camaraderie that we've been talking about.
Yeah, I can totally relate to that feeling. Like you've got this built-in support system. You're not alone. You're part of a team.
And another girl talked about how much she enjoyed the good team spirit and the fun of knowing that you can enjoy working with other people in the group.
Yeah.
So it highlights that social aspect of PE
Yeah.
and how it can create those positive relationships and a sense of belonging.
Which again goes back to that Australian study
Yeah.
that found a stronger sense of belonging in those schools with dedicated PE specialists.
Exactly. It shows the difference that consistent programs and supportive teachers can make.
Huge. And it's not just about the social side of things either. Students also talked about the emotional benefits of PE.
That's right. One student said that after their PE lessons, we are not stressed.
Okay.
And another student mentioned that PE actually helps them concentrate better in class because we are more relaxed.
That's amazing, especially in today's world where stress and anxiety are so prevalent among young people.
It is.
It seems like PE can be such a valuable tool for helping students manage those emotions and just feel better overall.
For sure. And it's not just the students who are noticing these benefits. The teachers in these case study schools are really tuned in to the impact of PE on their students' mental and emotional health.
I'm curious then, what were some of the things these teachers were doing to create these positive experiences? What stood out to you?
One thing that really impressed me was the emphasis on creating an environment where everyone felt welcome and valued. no matter their skill level.
I love that. It's about making sure everyone feels like they belong.
Exactly. And one school had this interesting whole school behavior management policy for PE
Okay.
that was centered around respect, safety, and kindness.
I like that.
Some of the rules included things like when the whistle is blown, it signals for all children to stop, look, and listen, and be kind to others.
Simple but effective.
Yeah, those clear expectations and consistent reinforcement help to create a positive and respectful atmosphere.
For sure. It sets the tone for the whole class.
Absolutely. And it's a reminder that even those small things, like clear rules and consistent routines, can contribute to that sense of belonging and well-being.
Yeah, it's about creating that space where everyone feels safe and respected.
Exactly. And another thing that impressed me was the focus on making PE enjoyable for everyone, regardless of their athletic ability.
Yeah, because if PE is just about competition and winning, it can be really discouraging for kids who aren't naturally athletic.
It can. And one of the teachers in the case study actually talked about using what they called minor games.
Oh, interesting. Tell me more about that.
So minor games are a way to break down those complex skills into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Okay.
And this allows for more individual success. And it shifts the focus away from direct competition.
So everyone has the chance to experience success and feel good about themselves.
Exactly.
And one of the sources also mentioned this health-promoting schools framework,
Yes.
which emphasizes the connection between the school environment, the curriculum, and community partnerships.
It's a really valuable tool for thinking about how to create a school culture that supports students' well-being. And that includes their mental and emotional health.
So it's about recognizing that health and well-being are influenced by a whole range of factors,
Absolutely.
not just what happens in the classroom.
Right. So how did the case study schools incorporate this framework into their PE programs? What did that look like in practice?
Well, one school highlighted the importance of having that qualified HPE specialist
Okay.
who could kind of lead the school's efforts in promoting healthy, active living.
Yeah, it's like having a champion for physical activity and well-being within the school.
Exactly. And another school talked about the power of community partnerships,
Right.
especially for overcoming challenges like limited resources or maybe lack of outdoor space.
Yeah, those partnerships can be so valuable.
For sure. It's about thinking outside the box and finding creative solutions.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now even focusing on the positive aspects of PE.
Yeah.
And it's clear that it can have this huge impact on mental health and well-being.
It can.
But let's shift gears a little bit. One of the sources also addresses some of the challenges schools face
Right.
when it comes to actually delivering these effective PE programs.
Yeah, one of the biggest challenges is the lack of qualified HPE teachers.
Yep, especially in those rural and remote areas that we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It's a real issue. And it highlights the need for more investment in teacher training and professional development.
Because we need to make sure that there are enough teachers to go around,
Right.
but also that those teachers have the skills and knowledge to create these inclusive and supportive learning environments.
Absolutely. It's about equipping them to really meet the needs of all their students.
Which includes being able to address their social and emotional needs.
Exactly. Because as we've been exploring, PE is so much more than just physical activity.
Right.
It's a powerful tool for promoting mental and emotional well-being, building those essential social skills, and fostering a strong sense of belonging.
It really is. And one of the sources actually sparked a really interesting debate about the best way to train PE teachers.
Yeah, there's this ongoing discussion about whether it's better to train PE teachers as specialists,
Yeah.
focusing solely on PE, or as generalists who are qualified to teach across a range of subjects, including PE.
So like a depth versus breadth kind of thing.
Exactly.
So what are the arguments on both sides?
Well, those who favor specialist training argue that it allows teachers to develop that really deep expertise in PE teaching methods and subject matter.
Makes sense. If you're going to be the dedicated PE teacher, you need to have a really strong foundation.
Right. And the argument for generalist training is that it gives teachers the flexibility to integrate PE into the wider curriculum,
Oh, that's a good point.
so they can make those connections between physical activity, academic learning, and social-emotional development.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So it seems like there are valid arguments on both sides.
There.
It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
And the best solution will likely vary depending on the specific needs of the school and the students.
Right. The key takeaway is that we need to be really thoughtful about how we're preparing these teachers for the complex role of teaching PE in today's world.
Absolutely. And one of the sources included some really insightful reflections from teachers
Okay.
about their own experiences with PE teacher training.
What stood out to you from those reflections?
One quote that stuck with me was from a teacher who had trained as a secondary PE specialist,
Okay.
but then ended up teaching PE in a primary school.
Okay.
And he said that he felt nowhere near enough prepared,
Oh, wow.
and that his knowledge of primary PE was zero when he first started.
Yeah, that highlights the importance of giving teachers that practical experience and support.
Yes, especially when they're transitioning between age groups
Yeah.
or different teaching environments.
Right, because the needs of the students can vary so much.
They do. And another teacher who came from a coaching background, rather than a traditional PE teaching background, mentioned that she struggled with the more academic side of teaching PE.
Interesting.
So it's not just about being able to demonstrate the skills or coach. There's a whole pedagogical side to it as well.
Right. You need to understand the theory and the best practices for teaching.
Exactly. And another important point that was raised in one of the sources is the well-being of the teachers themselves.
Oh, that's crucial. Teaching is such a demanding profession,
It is. And it can be emotionally challenging.
especially in a subject like PE, where you're often dealing with large groups of students.
Yeah, and managing these complex activities. And responding to a wide range of social and emotional needs, it can be a lot.
For sure. So we need to make sure that we're supporting these PE teachers.
Yes, not just in terms of professional development, but also in terms of their own well-being.
Right, because if we want them to create those positive and supportive environments for their students,
Yeah.
they need to feel supported and valued themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It all comes back to that sense of belonging and well-being.
It really does. So it seems like there's a lot to consider when it comes to the future of PE and how we can best equip teachers to meet the needs of their students.
You're right. It's a complex and evolving field. But what's really encouraging is that there are so many passionate and innovative teachers out there doing incredible work.
Yeah.
And their efforts are a testament to the power of PE to transform lives and create more positive and equitable communities.
That's inspiring. And it makes me want to dive even deeper into the research on the long-term benefits of PE
Let's do it.
and see how these experiences can shape individuals and communities for years to come. Okay, so we've talked a lot about how PE can have a really positive impact on students' mental health and sense of belonging, like in the short term.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm curious about the long game. Do these benefits actually stick with people?
Yeah,
Are there long-term benefits that carry over into adulthood?
that's a great question.
Yeah.
And luckily, researchers have been looking into that. And the good news is that, yes, the positive effects of PE can extend well beyond those school
Oh,
years
that's awesome.
and can influence people's lives for years to come.
So that's encouraging. What kind of long-term benefits are we talking about here?
Well, one of the most significant benefits is that PE can help people develop healthy habits.
Okay.
And this lifelong love of physical activity.
Right.
So when kids have those positive experiences with movement and exercise, they're more likely to stay active as adults,
Right.
which we know is super important for both physical and mental health.
Yeah, totally. It just makes sense. Like, if you learn to enjoy being active and you associate it with those good feelings,
Right.
it's more likely to become just a natural part of your life,
It is.
not something you have to force yourself to do.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just individual health as well. PE can also really foster that sense of community and social responsibility
Yeah.
that people can then carry with them
Yeah.
throughout their lives.
Yeah, I can see that happening. When you're learning to work together to respect your teammates and your opponents, to celebrate those wins and learn from those losses, like those are valuable lessons that you can apply to pretty much any aspect of life,
Absolutely.
not
Well,
just sports.
not just sports. Those are the things that build strong, healthy communities.
They really are. Now, one of the sources that I was looking at mentioned this concept of physical literacy,
Okay.
and it seems to tie in really well with these long-term benefits that we're talking about.
Yeah, physical literacy is a really interesting concept. It's all about developing the confidence and the motivation to be physically active for life.
Okay.
So think of it as like having a diverse range of movement skills, understanding why physical activity is important,
Yeah.
and then feeling empowered to participate in a wide variety of activities.
Okay, so not just traditional sports.
Exactly. It's
Okay.
not about being like an elite athlete or anything.
Right.
It's about just having this really solid foundation of movement skills and this positive attitude towards being active.
I like that a lot. So then how do we actually cultivate physical literacy? Does it all begin in PE class?
Well, PE definitely plays a crucial role,
Okay.
but it's not the whole story. Families, communities, even government policies all play a part in creating environments that actually support physical literacy.
So it's like we need this multi-pronged approach,
We do.
just like with mental health and well-being.
Absolutely.
It's not just one thing. It's a whole ecosystem of factors.
That's a great way to put it. It really does take a village to raise a physically literate child,
Yeah.
just like it takes a community to support mental and emotional well-being.
You know, as we're talking, it's really striking me how interconnected all of these things are,
Yeah.
like physical activity, mental health, social emotional learning, sense of belonging, physical literacy. It's all woven together.
It is.
Yeah.
We can't really separate these things, physical health from mental health
Right.
or social skills from emotional well-being.
Right.
It's all part of this big picture of human development.
And PE seems to be like this awesome catalyst for all of that,
Yeah.
bringing all these pieces together.
It really is.
Yeah.
It has this unique ability to combine physical activity,
Yeah.
social interaction, emotional regulation, and even cognitive challenges
Sure.
in a way that I don't think many other subjects can.
Right.
It's really a powerful tool for helping young people develop into well-rounded individuals and contributing members of these thriving communities.
So as we wrap up this deep dive today, what are some of the key takeaways that you hope our listeners will leave with?
Well, I hope they'll remember that physical education is so much more than just a class on the schedule.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's a crucial part of a well-rounded education that supports physical, mental, emotional, and social well-being.
Right.
It can create a sense of belonging,
Hmm.
build essential life skills,
Yeah.
and even inspire a lifelong love of movement.
And I really hope that everyone listening will feel inspired to take action in their own lives.
Yes.
Whether that's advocating for better PE programs in their communities or encouraging their kids to be active,
Yeah.
or even just prioritizing their own physical and mental health.
That's fantastic. It all makes a difference.
Yeah.
As we've seen today, the benefits of PE are really far-reaching,
They are.
and they have this amazing ripple effect that extends well into the future.
Mm-hmm.
By investing in PE, we're investing in the health and well-being and future success of our kids and our communities.
That's such a great point. And I think it's a perfect note to end on. So thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of mental health and physical education.
Been my pleasure.
We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. And before we go, we want to leave you with one last thought to ponder.
Okay.
As you go about your day today, just pay attention to how movement, connection, and a sense of belonging show up in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
And think about how you can nurture those things both in yourself and in the people around you.
That's a wonderful thing to reflect on. And remember, even small steps can make a big difference.
So true. Until next time, stay curious and keep moving.